Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ball Over Passion. I'm George, and I'm going to be your host this time. It's going to be a little weird. We're going to see how we go. We've got some special guests, which is awesome to see. A good friend of ours, Nick. How are you, mate?
Hi guys, I'm very excited to be here, and yeah, I'm fine.
Awesome, awesome. So, guys, we're talking Leeds. We're essentially going to just do a little bit of a breakdown, of course, and then we're going to get some insight from Nick. We're really excited to have him, a good friend of ours, individually, but also as the channel. Um, but we're talking Leeds. We're talking Carabao Cup. So I had this very weird controversy in some group chats where I was like, I'm not too sure if I'm that invested in the Carabao Cup. What were your guys' feelings just coming in to the cup, in terms of the squad, which was much rotated. Basically, Ben White and ESR were the only really starting 11 players that we had. Was everyone kind of comfortable with the fact that we went 9 full sale changes? Were people worried that Ben White even started ESR? I'll go to Nick first. What were your first thoughts about kind of the lineup and maybe the game in general?
Well, yeah. So, from as far back as I can remember, supporting Arsenal, I never really cared about the Carabao Cup. Maybe it's also because we were never good at it. We were always good at the FA Cup. So yeah, maybe that's another reason. But yeah, I mean, I expected the rotation, and I actually support it because again, it's not a very meaningful game. So I was happy. I mean, I was not excited to watch this 11, but I was happy with the rotation. I was actually kind of concerned about ESR and Ben White, and we were kind of concerned about Ben White. I'm still not sure yet what happened. I hope he's ready for Leeds. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a fine game. Some players showed up that we haven't seen in a while, like Ainsley and Eddie. So yeah, it was a cool game. Not very excited about it, but nothing negative to report.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I was very excited at the fact that we've got a pivot again. And like the biggest thing that I know we talked about on our channel was Brighton Palace and the role of Thomas Partey. Sorry. And when I was looking at the games and kind of the lone pivot and really this double pivot, I'm like, will we redo that? Will we go back to leaving him on an island? And so when I saw the lineup immediately, I was very excited to basically see, Mo and of course Ainsley together. And I felt as though that we were going to redo a lot of the formation stuff that we did in the previous game. So let's go to Curran first. What did you think about the first lineup? Kind of your first thoughts. Were you happy with Ben White and Emile starting? Because I know Mikel did say in his post match the idea was to go Pablo Mari and Rob Holding, but then he got sick, right? And it was essentially him almost forced to put Ben in for the time
Mhm.
being. But it seemed like Odegaard never recovered from his injury previously as well. So he was due to come in. We were going to have a completely refreshed 11. How did you feel, I guess, lineup wise? The pivot made its return. People saw the Mohamed El Neni role. So, what did you feel about the game?
Yeah, for me, there was three main things that I really felt that was key for that. So for me, to rest players obviously is the main thing. Players like Saka have been really, gung ho. They've been played every game. Players like Thomas Partey, who we need, especially now that our his pivot partner in Granit Xhaka is sort of incapacitated at the minute. And then you've got to be resting players that you really feel like you need to protect right now. So players like Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Ramsdale, these kind of guys. The second thing for me is um, you want to give players that aren't playing a chance, because you need to, for squad dynamics, for the dressing room as well, you need to be able to give these guys a chance. So players like players like Gabriel Martinelli or Mohamed El Neni, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who I'll get onto in a second. These kinds of players that you don't really see on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. To give them a chance is key, because if something does happen, then you have to really rely on these guys. So you need to keep them fresh. So that's a very good thing. The third thing is January is coming up, and if there are players that want to leave in January, it would be good to get them in the windows, to put them in the window and see if teams do want to buy it. If you look at the likes of Eddie Nketiah, who has made his feelings clear that he doesn't really want to sign a contract, or other players, like even Mohamed El Neni, if someone does want to pick up his contract at the end of the year, because he has been a fine servant to the club. He's done his role. He's been a very good locker room guy. If he wants teams to look for him next year when his contract finishes, then we should have players that you should play these guys so they can advance their careers as well. Because
Well, I mean, also Curran, like we saw the effect of what a substitute appearance did in our previous league game, right? The entire idea of Laka coming into the fold again and being a really primary role was from a very good substitute appearance. So I think for me, when I look at these care about substitute appearance or second string, I accept a kind of lower technical quality and not really a fluidity that you're going to see with some of the patterns. But what I do expect is a little bit more kind of an impetus from these guys, because we have shown if you perform well, you're going to get into the starting lineup. You're going to make yourself a fixture. And so I'll go to you, Chris. Like, what did you feel about the starting lineups? What did you feel about the pivot once again? Were you happy that Mikel seemed to learn his lesson? I mean, we seem to be balancing and moving towards a system that doesn't leave Partey isolated, or at least doing those patterns again. What did you feel about the lineup?
Well, I knew he changed because ever since he came, he's always made many changes going into a cup game. The FA Cup or the League Cup last year. League Cup last year, it was a bit different because we got big teams early. We got Liverpool, Leicester, we got Man City, so we had to play more first team players. But he still made changes, and I expected them with the lineup. I'm never really happy to see the second string because I don't really like a lot of the second string, anyways. So to see them playing, I thought they could win because Leeds have been awful this season. As like they're 17th in the league, they have one win. Like they've been awful, and I thought that we'd score a lot of goals and create chances against the team, especially with the front four. I was going into the game, like I was sitting there thinking, oh, Pepe should perform, even though I didn't think he would at all. I was sitting there thinking, I said it, like Pepe should perform, even though I don't think he will. He should perform and make it hard for Mikel to make a decision on the weekend, because that's what these games are for, to give yourself a chance to go into the first team and actually play. Because Laka proved to all of them last week that if you come on and you play well, you can play, you can start the next game. So these guys, I thought they'd take their chance, but certain guys didn't. But Ainsley was great, and I expected him to play well because of the space in the middle and because he's great in duels generally, and Leeds generally are very 1v1. So everyone is involved in 1v1 duels a lot, and that's more Ainsley's game. So I expected him to do well, and I predicted him to be the man of the match. And for me, even though Leno he got it, for me he was the man of the match.
Agreed.
I think it was really quite clear. Ainsley had his best game since Old Trafford in 2018 of United away. That was the best he's looked in midfield. Very, very clear. I think he deserves probably his own special little segment, because for me, he placed himself in the reckoning in terms of the pivot options, in terms of him putting himself ahead of Mohamed El Neni, in terms of some other people. I thought he had an excellent game. But Z, I'll go to you just last, because we'll probably kind of go in about how we dismantled that man marking system with Leeds. And by the way, the first half, if we're being fair, kind of chaotic, a little bit of back-to-back, a little bit more of a basketball game in terms of control for both teams. But Z, made like first impressions about the lineup. Nicolas Pepe, Chris kind of made a little bit of a point there, but for me, I'm going to go even further. This man had everything to succeed. He had an overlapping right back in Cedric. He had an ESR that was going to be a touch-tight kind of attacking midfielder that would go near him, that would also overlap if somebody didn't do it. I mean, he had the conditions to thrive. And by the way, when I look at Leeds, I see a lot of spaces in the middle. I see tons of gaps. So for me, I anticipated, or I hoped he would prove me wrong. Were you feeling very similar in terms of the lineup? Of course, maybe happy that Martinelli got a 90 minutes, which many fans were clamoring for, but his performance left maybe a little bit more to be desired. But what were your thoughts on the initial lineup and going into it?
I mean, look, I kind of already set my expectations on the lineup. I mean, I already knew that we weren't going to have the strongest of lineups, but it was actually refreshing to see someone like Emil Smith-Rowe in the lineup. I was expecting Odegaard, but just to see Emil Smith-Rowe, it kind of just gave me a lot more impetus to just be a bit more excited in the game. And as you know, just you can't really get too much from these kind of games because most of the players are either dead wood, or some of these players, are looking for a transfer move. So it was something that I couldn't really get myself up for too much. But the fact that we had someone like Emil Smith Rowe and Ben White in the team was enough to keep me going for the rest of the game. And I think just watching Ben White in the flesh again was just amazing. Some of the balls that he was picking out, from the back, even though he went off early. For me, he was just so good on the ball, and I think he's just getting better and better every game. And apart from Ben White, who gets a shout out, I think Ainsley. Yeah, Ainsley was my pick of the match because for me, since the little cameos that I've seen him have this season, I felt like what, he probably deserves a bit more game time because I feel like he wants to grow into the role. I know he's looking for a move as well, but ideally, if that's the kind of role he wants to he wants to prove himself, and there's no better place than Arsenal to prove himself. And yesterday he held it. He held his own, and I think he did the better of the two between El Neni and Ainsley. And to be fair, I was kind of disappointed on El Neni. I don't think he was doing the basic fundamentals like that we expect from someone like Mohamed El Neni. But apart from that, I mean, I wasn't too happy with both of the wings. I mean, even Martinelli, I don't know, it just wasn't his best game. And Pepe, he was goddamn wasteful, man. Like honestly, like I don't know what he was trying to do from the right wing, but everything what he was trying to do was not it, and it was just really frustrating to watch because I felt like that Leeds team was like they were there to be taken, and he had every condition. He had a overlapping right back. He had Emil Smith Rowe, and he was the senior player in the team, and he didn't take that into his grasp, and that was kind of disappointing. But other than that, I mean, I was really glad that we ended up scoring with the set piece that I feel like was basically grafted by Jover, which is our set piece coach.
My boy.
Yeah, and we also like all the players run off to the coach, and it was a nice touch because I feel like they must have practiced that. And shout out to Emil Smith Rowe because his corner kicks are looking really, really good. And then on the second goal, I don't know, guys, did you not feel like Nketiah might have just missed that if it wasn't? I don't know.
It was a miss kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just looked like he was going to miss that, but in all honesty, it was I would say it was a okay performance. It was nice to see 2 goals. I was expecting 2 more, but Curran, you won your predictions. But yeah, overall, I think decentish performance.
Yeah, it was interesting. Look, Leeds go. So we'll probably get into some of the specifics now. Especially in the first half. But maybe Chris, you can pop up the first visual, and I'll go to Nick first with it. So in case people didn't know, just to catch up everybody, both teams went with basically a 4-2-3-1. If you really want to look at that at kind of the broad terms, but Leeds go very man marking, both in their press on and off the ball. And it seemed like we looked to match them up. But Nick, the first half was really the Benjamin White's show, and I'm not going to go Ben because I think he likes being called Benjamin. But it was really the Benjamin White show, wasn't it? Because I think he started to show a lot of the form he ironically showed at Leeds. In terms of being imperious at the back, we finally saw him, progressing up the pitch and breaking lines. How important was Ben? And maybe if you want to describe your visual here in terms of what you saw him doing to break that man-for-man press.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that our system yesterday was obviously basically was the same as we always use or as we usually use, but I think there were some differences that were specific that are specific for when we play man marking system. So for example, as you can see, I saw the fullback as being a lot deeper, right? And that's one example. There were, like, for example, if for any other team, I think we would see Kolasinac be right up next to Martinelli or close to him, right? I think the fullbacks were deliberately deep in order to, because they were being man-marked by the wingers. And then the other big thing, the key battle in the system for me was ESR versus Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips was the lone DM for Leeds, and he was man-marking ESR. And ESR really his movement meant that he was drifting on the right, as you can see from that arrow there, and he was basically opening a lot of space in the middle because Phillips was following him. So we will also see a little movements like El Neni, because the two number 8s from Leeds that would be man marking our pivot. So, for example, in this image, we see El Neni go drifting towards the middle, and that opens up a lot of space for Ben White. In the man marking system of Leeds, the major flaw is that there is obviously, in most systems, is that there's one center forward up against two center backs. And so it was very easy. White would receive in the right half space. He would just need to drop his shoulder a little, just one little fake, and he would be able to just go running towards the middle because the left-sided 8 was being pulled by El Neni. The number 6 was being pulled out by SR. And it's not even just with White. White is a top-class carrier, but we saw Holding numerous times progress the ball down the left. I think that was the major thing in the first half. We saw a lot of Ben White, and he had a fantastic game. And obviously, it was an easy game for him. I will admit. He doesn't look like that every week in terms of his ball carrying. He's not allowed to just run up the pitch 5 times in the space of 45 minutes. But still, that is the kind of game where you need a ball carrier like Ben White, and it's not something we had last season. In fact, I remember one of our goals that we scored against Leeds at the Emirates, the one where Aubameyang isolated against Ayling and shot at the near post. It was Gabriel that time that drifted from the left side, and I can't remember. I think he passed it to Xhaka or something, and we were able to isolate Aubameyang down the left from his favorite spot. So yeah, I think it's man marking is definitely. I'm not a big fan of that system.
I think what it does, Nick, is it leaves gaps in the midfield.
Yeah,
you don't have
definitely.
people that are absolutely elite in transition.
Yeah.
So if you don't,
and especially when you have a single pivot.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, and you know what? But even the 8s of Leeds, who are normally really good about covering their spaces, they didn't know what to do in terms of Ben White. They were really not following the lines. Ben White, for me, he would break into midfield, and the 8 seemed more concerned about covering our pivots than really meeting him.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it seemed like ESR would try to go wide, and it would leave a big gap in the middle. Because Calvin Phillips would follow Emile, but they weren't almost sticking in their position. So then there was a big kind of right half space gap for us to exploit. Now, the only thing that I was really annoyed with is I don't think that Pepe and Nketiah did very well to really exploit a lot of those gaps. So Ben White would break very often, but really our middle third to the final third, especially in that first half, it seemed to break down, and then we almost had transitions the other way. What did you feel was the issue in that first half about really the center backs would go up, and of course our fullbacks stayed back, but how do you think that impacted our ability to keep the ball on the final third? Because I think in the first half, there was definitely an issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's just about the system. I think it was just the personnel as well. We had our front 3 are not great at retaining the ball under pressure. Nketiah has improved, same as Martinelli. Pepe, we're all annoyed by, especially in that regard in terms of his ball retention. But I think they did not do a good enough job of dropping deep in order to support White. And even when they did, I thought there were a couple of moments where they could have just made a little run backwards towards their goal. I think there were some chances where Ben White could have played them in, but the pass was not always on. I think with a little better movement by Nketiah and Martinelli or Pepe, we could have seen some 1v1s created that way. And I think mostly it was the movement of the wingers were not great. It was not great when White was pushing forward, and especially because ESR was out of the game at that point. When White was pushing forward, ESR was going right to the touchline. So basically, Ben White was the playmaker, and we had the front 3, which can't really retain the ball, and they would have to make some runs. They did not really do them, or when they did, White did not spot the pass. But still, I think, let's say we had our usual, let's say we go to Leeds and we play this setup, but with ESR, Oba, and Saka as the front 3, I think we could score many goals that way.
Yeah, I think the fullbacks are probably the key difference, right? Like Cedric is just so poor
Yeah, sure.
technically. He always goes backwards too, like whenever he receives it. So really it was up to White to progress, and almost it seemed like to me ESR was a one-man attack where Pepe liked the ability to stay wide, and I don't think he was enjoying coming inside. He felt there was too much action there, and I think they ended up clogging up, and no one was taking really big responsibility. But I'll get the other guys' opinion in on this. What did you make of kind of this first half dynamic where White seemed to be the quarterback? We seemed to drop deep. I felt Martinelli was isolated left wing quite a bit, and it was probably a feature of the game. But I'll go to Chris first. Like, what did you think about this in the first half, where White was the star? So we've got to talk about this kind of segment essentially. But what did you feel was A, going well, and then maybe B, going wrong, for why we couldn't control things?
I think it was easy for our centre backs to get from the first third to the third, and then when we got to the final third, and then I think we lacked a lot of conviction, and our players just looked lost, especially like Martinelli just staying touchline loads a lot of the time. Whenever he got up to the ball, Martinelli would get a 1v1, and then Nketiah would just drag the right centre back, and then Martinelli would try step inside, and then he'd just have his head down, and then he didn't really make good decisions when coming inside. And then whenever White, I just think we were very indecisive, and then when we did make the decision, 9 times out of 10 it'll probably be the wrong one. I think the front three couldn't really keep the ball well either, so it meant that their decisions were more important because they had less of the ball to make the final action. I think White's progression helped, and without it, probably would have had many less shots and less corners. Because a lot of the shots and big chances we had, most of them came from the corners that we had, and then they'd get cleared, and then we try to score. So I think we were just very indecisive and just didn't keep the ball well in the final third. Anyways.
Yeah, I think, again, in my opinion, and I don't know if anyone wants to interject, but I felt like White and ESR were a one-man army in terms of a build-up, but then retaining in that first half. It was very difficult for us to really get many other people involved. I thought Eddie was much better in the second half for me. He had a very decent all-round game, but I think he stepped up in the second half, offering more of an option between the lines. But I'll go to Curran first. May, what did you think of this first half? Same kind of question in terms of Ben White and this dynamic on the right side. What do you think was going well and right? Do you kind of agree with the guys over here about, what the faults were? Or do you think it was maybe just, personnel? Like these guys are the second string. The fact that there's low attacking pattern cohesion is because we've got 9 guys that, haven't played well together or really together much at all. And they're all basically a second string. Like, do you think some of that is coming to play? And that was part of why maybe the second half was just improved in general. Maybe it wasn't a system tweak, just people getting comfortable with who was there.
Yeah, so for me, in terms of the first half, it was clear that there was a clear sign to try and make our width the priority. We were trying to go wide a lot. If you look at the likes of Gabriel, especially Pepe, on the White point, so with White, he was the guy who was, as you said, leading the build-up. He was the guy who was taking from first to second and to try and maybe even affect a third phase play. But if you look at Pepe on that first half, you had ESR on multiple occasions going overlapping and then trying to allow Pepe to come inside. So to have, if you're going to have that, and you're going to have people actually have that dynamic, you need a Pepe, and the same with Martinelli. Both of these need to be playing well, and I don't think either did in that first half. In terms of build-up, I'll say the key men for me in terms of going forward were, as you said, White. I don't think Emil had a very good first half either. There was a couple of passes he missed. I think Gabby tried, but there was another couple of things where it was where he tried, as you mentioned, he was trying to cut in, and the right centre back Eddie was trying to pull the right centre back out of position to create a lane for him, and it didn't work. But in terms of the Pepe point, there was clearly a plan, as the same was in Norwich, to try and make him shine, and it didn't come off. I mean, you had a clear attacking pattern, the triangle that's on the screen right now. If you look at the White ESR Pepe and you form that triangle there, and you have either Cedric or ESR go on the outside, and again, it's the same sort of thing. It's the lack of ball retention, the lack of football intelligence, the lack of things that you expect from your premier winger, your £72 million winger, and I'm fed up. I'm fed up. Like, I've tried to be as accommodating as I can with this guy, but it's just it's the same things happening again and again with him. And you look at that, like, I swear to God, I'm not even just like, I'm not like joking or trying to be mean, but when he fell down in that first half, I laughed. I'm not even trying to be mean. I couldn't control myself. I just laughed on instinct, because it was just
I
like,
thought he got fouled.
bro, that shit was, I don't even know. It was a mental touch. It was an absolute
You know what it
mental
is,
touch.
Curran, for me, at the end of the day, this was probably the best game where he had the best conditions to thrive. Like, if you're
Yes,
looking
exactly.
at the lineup and you're looking at how we're supposed to make Pepe shine, right? Like, Nketiah, in terms of what he is as a profile, he can be a tip of an arrow striker, but he is somebody that will get involved. So he'll leave space for you to attack the box, right?
Exactly.
Emil was definitely overlapping and giving him an option. Cedric would do it if he could. You know, Ben White was progressing in the middle. I mean, that right-hand side was built. The plan was very clearly, we're going to switch dynamics from the left that we normally dominate, facilitate the right. We got to get Pepe involved. It was very similar to Norwich, where we wanted him to be the reference of attack.
Yeah.
And he didn't thrive. And for me, it seems like he was out of excuses this game. There was a good opposition, but they had gaps. You know, he had his attacking midfielder, but he didn't perform. And so I'm with you. But maybe, Z, just to wrap up this little segment here before we go to the left, what did you feel in terms of Ben White, in terms of that kind of dynamic, how his first half went? Are we overhyping this, which I think is ridiculous, but I don't want to influence your answer. But, this first half, of course he was good. It was the best that we've seen him on the ball. But was there something else that you felt that made him look this good? Like, why was it this game that, you just saw him thrive?
I mean, look, to be fair, with Ben White, we saw the fact that I think he had a lot more freedom, and I don't think he probably gets that much time and space on the ball in any other Premier League game. So I think this was the game where Ben White had to shine. But one of the main things that I kind of noticed from Ben White was the fact that the ranges of passing that he had was there was a lot more ranges in the kind of passes that he was trying to do, and that kind of shows that one, he's increasing his confidence. His confidence has obviously improved, and another thing is the fact that he's shown that he's capable of becoming a leader on the pitch, and just one of the main senior players in the team in general. So that was really impressive. But there was another thing that I kind of took into consideration during the game, and it was the fact that he was constantly communicating with the defense, and that was usually when I watch the defense again and again, it just feels like our defense just goes on vibes. They don't really listen to each other. They just do what they feel like is just based on instinct. And one thing I saw Ben White, he was literally pointing towards the players. I was like, this is where you should be, this is where you should be, and this is where I'm going to put, this is where I'm going to this is where I'm going to pass to. And I feel like all the players are buying into him. And at the start of the season, when we said that a lot of the players are not listening to him, or they're not really confident with him, I feel like now I think the tide is turning, and it's basically the players are now warming to him, and they're a lot more confident with him on the ball. That's why he's starting to take a lot more risks. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just wrap it up on look, I don't think it was coincidence, in my opinion, that, he looked really good now. I thought he was building on from really his last performance in the Premier League. And I'll be honest with you, to date, I've been disappointed with his on-the-ball prowess. Like, I always felt this was his level. And, he could absolutely kind of proceed a little bit further. In fact, what we're seeing right now with Ben White is not just that ball passing, but really that ball progression. And the big thing that I always talk about, on this channel and even on the timeline, is that with Ben White, it's a really big difference when you have a ball-carrying progressor at the back versus just a ball-playing center back. So what I mean by that is, David Luiz, somebody that, I don't think gets the flowers that he does deserve at times. But the one thing was he was excellent with the ball at his feet. Everyone could see that. great distribution, both long and short. But the one thing that he wasn't really confident in was basically breaking lines with carrying it up the pitch. And what Ben does is he disrupts blocks, right? So if you're facing a low block or a high press, having a ball carrying progressor that not only can kind of start your build up with short and long, which are ways for you to kind of break down a block or a press, he's able to use his kind of dribbling ability in that right half space to draw players in, and it creates overload simply by his presence and his ability on the ball. And we saw it time and time again. And I don't think it was just in space. I think the one thing that I was really surprised and really happy about was even when he was pressed, he was doing some really deft touches that got him out of trouble. And so for me, I thought it was just an excellent performance, his best on the ball performance, kind of to date that we've seen. And I just think it's the beginning. For me, I still don't think that he's shown his on the ground between the line passes. That's something that we saw with Leeds and Brighton. I don't think he's quite shown it yet. He's shown an ability to fire it into the striker or into the forward line with a lot of accuracy. I think here we saw the long balls. Here we saw the ball carrying. That last little bit of firing between the lines is something to expect. But as we move on, maybe to the left side, Chris, if you can put up that next visual, we're going to maybe highlight, in my opinion, Ainsley and his role about how we tried to use Martinelli. And I'll go to Nick again first. But here, I think Ainsley is another player that, for me, my man of the match, in the end. But I think he was very important on this side of the pitch in terms of trying to help Martinelli. But in that first half, there were tons of opportunities where in transition he was there. He was making tons of interceptions, and he was just an absolute boss in the midfield for me. Very composed, something I don't normally associate with Ainsley. But do you want to walk us through maybe this pattern of play about how we used Rob to step up on the left and how it maybe affected Martinelli being a little bit more isolated kind of on the left?
Well, yeah. So it's similar principle to the other side when I talked about with the deep fullbacks in order to open up space. So as you can see, there is a lot of space in the half space because the winger is very wide with the left back with Kolasinac. And then one major flaw that we usually see in games against a man-marking opponent is that, for example, we saw Man United against Leeds with McTominay making those runs, and even then against Atalanta, they use a different system, but it's man-marking again. Bruno at times, McTominay at others. So it's the same principle that because the double pivot or the eights are man-marking the other midfielders, they're usually very aggressive in their man-marking. It's very easy to make, or it's not easy, but it's easier to make these box-to-box runs, or where one of the double pivots bursts into the space that is left behind the midfield line of the man-marking team. Obviously, again, ESR has pulled Phillips to the right, which was the main. It was another main feature in our play. And for this is a very simple pattern: holding. He starts carrying out the ball. The center forward Rodrigo's on white this time. He switches to holding. He starts moving forward. And now this time the right-sided 8, which I can't remember who it was. Was it? I can't remember. Forshaw? I'm not sure.
Forshaw.
But he goes. Yeah. But he goes. He jumps at holding this time, and so Ainsley is free. He makes a run, and holding plays it to Martinelli, who lays it off to Ainsley, who attacks that open space, which is marked with that circle. And yeah, that was. It did happen a few times. We saw Ainsley at one time breaking at the box. And there was a last-ditch tackle that almost gained us a penalty. Yeah, I think it's a great way to use Ainsley, because I think that's his main asset as a player is those dynamic underlaps, whether he's playing as a right back or as a midfielder. It's those runs at the half space, and I think. I mean, to be honest, if we were playing, let's say, if we were on Saturday playing against Leeds, even in the Premier League, I would probably start Ainsley next to Partey. It's not the most balanced double pivot, but I think I do that just for these runs, because it's easy to disrupt a man-marking system that way. So I think it's something. Yeah, I think it's something that we could even use in the league, not just in the cups.
Yeah, I mean, he loves to stretch his legs. Look, they're not similar players, but I think he likes a chaos game. And so what I mean by that is very similar to Guendouzi. When the game is stretched and he's able to kind of open his legs up, that's something that he thrives in. He loves the battle. He loves the end-to-end. he's got an elite 5-yard burst. I think he's among the fastest in the squad, to be honest with you. And a lot of people have made notice of that. And I think you saw that in this first half. Again, there were tons of times that there were 3-2s or 2v1s that Leeds had good opportunities. And, Ainsley was there like a flash. Awesome. And, Chris, you thought similarly that he was probably one of your man of the matches. Like, what do you think of A, this dynamic, but B, what he did so well in this game? Like, again, it was almost a legacy performance from the Old Trafford game, wasn't it?
Yeah, but with the dribbling or the ball carrying, breaking lines and disrupting the system, we saw it with Saka in the 4-2. Emil did it a lot in the 4-2. They were just taking the ball in the halfway line and just driving and getting past many, many players, because generally in that system, it just becomes you beating your man 1v1, and then you're in a totally different space. So Ainsley did do that well yesterday. I think he was great. I don't know the numbers. I didn't check, but even during the game, I just felt he was great indoors, and his pressing was very good, and he was helping because Elneny was very loose technically, and he was losing the ball a lot. And Ainsley's ball recovery and pressing saved him a lot. I think he also helped us on the counter at times because, as we said, Martinelli wasn't good at keeping the ball, so Ainsley was right behind him whenever he did lose the ball to win him back. I remember this when Leeds had a counter, and then obviously we won the ball back from Ainsley, and then we went on the break, and then obviously number 19 missed his chance. But like we did that a lot. I think Ainsley, his industry was better, was very good. Even though he was good on the ball, his industry is what made me think he was man of the match.
Yeah, maybe for me it's because I find him not composed all the time, and I just felt that for me lacked progression and really relied on Ben White to really carry it up the pitch. Ainsley was surprisingly composed. It was something that I've always critiqued on him. I think his decision making was really, really good in this game, and he didn't vacate his zone, which is something he does do. So when he was breaking, I think he was very cognizant of the fact that Kolasinac is back there, and you don't want people 1v1 with holding. So I thought he just did a really, really good job. He made up for the lack of progression from Elneny. And maybe I'll go to Curran, mate. Like, what do you think about Ainsley's game in general, but also maybe this pattern of play that we saw? You're on mute.
Stop muting me. Anyway, you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, good. So what impressed me about Ainsley is, before I was mentioning about White and his he was elite. He was the guy that was pushing us forward in build-up. What Ainsley and Elneny did well, I feel, is they control transition. And if you know me at all, I am the only reason why I am on this pivot train is because of transition control. And if you control transition, you can sustain pressure. If you sustain pressure, you can create attacking build-up, and you can create attacking chances. So when you have someone like Ainsley and someone like Elneny constantly getting into duels, going in, being brave, attacking the ball, attacking the man, making sure that you are protecting your back four, because guess what? You've got Holding and Kolasinac behind you. And it's not something that I'm sort of like, I wouldn't be as, say that it was an Ainsley, that a normal Ainsley performance. I think this was an exceptional Ainsley performance, but if it wasn't as good in transition, I think we get killed on the counter, to be honest. But today yesterday, sorry, he was very he was very key in making sure that you have someone that is able to create turnovers, be aggressive, hit the man, make sure you attack your man, and go for to create the chances and create the opportunities to go for another attacking option. So I think he played very well. I think he did well in terms of making runs. He was an option in build-up, because Holding seemed to have, for some reason, I think he just saw Ben White and just thought, you know what, I can do that too, and I'm going to run into the midfield as well. So Ben White, I don't know where Rob Holding has got this idea that he's some sort of Ben White regen, but I was here for it. I don't know where that confidence came from, but go for it, mate. So yeah. I think that with the if you have runners going forward and you have players that are able to sustain pressure as well, then you're in for a treat, because you can have players moving off the ball, you can have players actually moving into space, creating chances, moving your men around. So I think he played very well in terms of Ainsley, and he was my man of the match for sure. I think.
Yeah, no, he did excellent. Z, like I'll go to you in a sense where, am I going to reach here? I'm going to do a little bit of narrative play, because why not? And I love to anger people on Twitter since I'm always positive. But look, Ainsley was clearly somebody that did something that the culture police would say was wrong at the start of the season. You know, the way that he kind of broadcasted his personal situation on social media was not something I was a fan of. But, you know, you can draw similarities really to the situations of falling out, if you want to call it, with the manager. And then being able to reconcile and then put in really good performances, because I felt that he's had really good cameos in general. But this was to cap off probably his first really great 90-minute performance. Do you feel that Mikel, and, you know, we have shown that there's a way back for the exile. There's this notion on Twitter that there isn't. And do you feel that Ainsley showing, A, with his commitment, but also, you know, B, how he's been performing kind of all season, that even after a disagreement, you know, with higher ups or the manager himself, do you think that there's a way back for players like that? And, you know, you draw similarities to somebody, say a Guendouzi, who just didn't, you know, refuse to apologize, and there was issues, but is there an attitude change where you can see that Ainsley's put himself down, he's put his head down, and, you know, he in fact has shined, and he's been given an opportunity that I don't think many people criticize Mikel for. Am I reaching here? Am I just drawing too much narrative, or do you think that's valid?
I mean, to be fair, like when I try even compare the situation between Guendouzi and Ainsley, it's so similar, but it's so far apart, because we have a whole cult for Guendouzi. I don't think Ainsley has that kind of support, and so it just feels like, you know, even though in the summer they tried to, you know, create the whole Ainsley situation into something that, you know, oh, Arteta's an idiot for doing this
You
and
know
that.
what I use it, Z? Sorry, just to cut off, but really
Yeah, no,
quickly,
it's
like
fine.
Ainsley's had multiple incidents too. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
of
the
course.
reason I use it is because, like, he hasn't maybe got the cult and playing quality, but also Ainsley's had multiple incidences. A, refusing to play a certain position. Like there's been multiple disagreements. It wasn't just the summer, and, you know, it was basically a year before with Mikel still in charge. Like, do you think that's maybe an apt comparison? Maybe not quality on the ball, because maybe that could be a different story depending on who you ask, but at least the culture police, and in terms of his disagreements.
I think the culture police, most of the time when they, you know, when they come and make the comments, I feel like they're not objective enough, because how are they going to say, okay, someone like Guendouzi, because of the way he behaved, he's been completely exiled of the team, and because of the way he's behaved, someone like Saliba is never going to be back into the team because apparently they're friends. So why is Kolasinac starting games? You know, why is he still in the squad? So for me, the way I see it is, if you're training hard and you're willing to, you know, at least you're willing to at least listen to the manager, then there's always a place back for you in the team, as long as you're working hard and at the level that, you know, Mikel Arteta requires. And then look, we saw Ainsley Maitland-Niles start the first game when all the new players, you know, was gelling into the team with Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu. Ainsley was in that midfield, and so what does that show? It shows that, you know, not only that, you know, he has a role to play in the team. I think Arteta kind of sees a future for Ainsley in midfield. So it's down to Ainsley to work hard and to prove, you know, the fact that he can play in midfield. And yesterday was probably the first time where I was like, you know what, there might be a light at the end of the tunnel for him. Every other game I've seen bits and pieces where I'm like, you know, you can take one good part from this performance and one good part from this other performance, and, you know, hopefully, it combines into one, you know, full complete performance. Yesterday was the first time I was like, you know what, he has that. I think there is something there, and so again, like, just to play off the narrative, I feel like it's stupid, because I'm pretty sure Guendouzi would have had a future in the team if he, you know, decided to, you know, just forget about his ego, forget about whatever's happened, forget about the whole strangling issue, just come back and train and just goddamn apologize and play. Because I feel like that's it, man. All these idiots on Twitter just, you know, playing with this narrative, man. Honestly, on record, man, just get a life, please.
Yeah, no, it was just nice to have that kind of player, that culture police player drop, in my opinion, man of the match. Maybe other people might have some differences, but such a good performance regardless. And he was given a chance. So let's move on to kind of the second half. And this one, we won't go too much in detail because for me, I just felt like we were clinical. I think like the difference between the first and the second half was not really much in attacking patterns. There wasn't really like a master class of tactics. It was just we were making good decisions. And we were, I wouldn't say clinical, because I felt from the first two goals, really, the first one was off a set piece, of course, and then Eddie pulled it around the keeper from a mistake from the Leeds player, and he almost didn't score. He did kind of shank the shot, but he did a lot, and his industry was what won him that goal, so credit to him. But Nick, I'll go to you, mate. Like, in terms of maybe your view on the second half, but maybe the game as a whole, who were your winners and your losers from this performance? And did you agree maybe with my analysis that the second half, not much changed, we were just clinical? Or do you felt like there were some structure things that we did to kind of make us put on the pressure a bit?
No, I don't think that Arteta particularly changed anything. I think we had more chances in the second half in general, even chances that did not translate into shots. We did get in some good situations where we flat the final pass or something. I think that was more so after the first goal, because after the first goal, Leeds pushed forwards a lot more, and there was a lot of open space in transition. Like there were a lot of situations where Pepe or Martinelli or Nketiah could have played a better pass. I'm just gonna say that I love that we have been scoring so many set piece goals, because it's so important. And like I think I started watching every Arsenal game, I think in 2012, 2013. I never remember a time where we would score a lot of set piece goals ever. This is a complete new for me, so I'm happy about that. And it's gonna be important because like I tweeted that as well. Yeah, I tweeted that out yesterday, because like when it comes to creativity in football, everybody thinks about like intricate patterns of play that result into like an open goal or like
the through ball, the Hollywood pass.
Yeah, or like the Özil pass. It's okay. That's great. If you can do that 3 times every single game, that's great. But like, unless you have overwhelming quality, it doesn't really work like that. You need to find new ways to score goals. Like Liverpool, for example, under Klopp, they have been a team that have been scoring lots of goals of set pieces, of counter pressing, turnovers half the pitch, long balls. It's not really sustainable to just hope that your creative players will pull out something out of the bag every single game. And I think, to be honest, last season, and in the periods that we have struggled under Arteta, it did kind of go that way, that we were looking to score a perfect goal of patterns of play. There were not other chance creation methods. So I'm happy about that, and I think it's going to be important, because let's be real, we're not a team that has Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne and Foden and Gundogan and Grealish and Mahrez at the same side. We don't really have that kind of attacking quality. So whatever way we can get goals, I'm going to be very happy, as long as at some point we get it in that kind of quality, which I have no doubts we will eventually.
We're waiting for the quality turnover that we had in defense.
Yeah,
up top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yes, I'm happy about that. In terms of when you said winners and losers, you meant about the players that played.
Yeah, just in general. You can go your man of the match, but also maybe somebody that lost, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think Ainsley and Ben White were very good. I think those were the standouts, and those were the main guys that I focused my analysis on. So I think those were the best players. I think Nketiah played very well in general. The problem with Nketiah is that even though I like him, he's gone, isn't he? Like, he's not going to be staying, no chance, because of Balogun mostly and other guys coming through. He's not going to be staying. So, and we're not even going to get a good fee for him. So it's annoying, but I'm happy for him that he's playing well, so he can get a good move. Pepe, he had a chance. He squandered it, as he has lately, just like he did against Palace and Norwich and Burnley and all the other games. And yeah, I think in terms of everyone else, I don't think there's really anyone that's like has a chance to start games. Like, I guess Kolasinac did okay, Holding okay, but like those guys are not going to displace Tierney and Tavares and Gabriel, right? And like even Leno played well. It's okay. I don't really want to see him challenging Ramsdale in the league, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to get Chris's opinion on Leno, but no, I agree. I think for me, I had very similar, pros in terms of your Eddie, your White, and essentially Ainsley, who for me was special. If anything, Ainsley maybe for me proved himself in the reckoning. I don't know if he did quite enough for me to want to start over Lukunga, but he certainly put himself in the window to have an
Yeah.
argument with being a Partey partner.
He showed some life. That's what we wanted to
Yes.
see, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think Eddie, the one thing that I wanted just really quickly to say on Eddie was I felt as though he's made a big difference in his technical security, kind of in terms of growth, just from last season. A lot stronger when people are in the challenge with him and him holding up the ball. I think whoever gets Eddie Nketiah is going to get a complete striker in a sense where, you've got high technical ability. He can drop in deep. He can be the tip of an arrow. He can run lines. I don't think he's at the quality that really many would like, but he's very much a mid-table striker that will get you goals. Very similar to me, in my opinion, like a Jermaine Defoe, not in profile, but in reliability of goals. Like that guy will score. So he could do
can
well.
I say my hot take about? Can I say my hot take about Eddie?
Please.
I think he's a winger.
Really?
Yeah, I think because like he did have some really good performances on the left in preseason, from what I remember. He has improved. He has improved his ball striking, cutting in from the left, and I think, and obviously his 1v1 dribbling and retention in general, hold up play has improved. I think in terms of being a center forward, I just still think that his all around play is not there yet, and he's not like an Aubameyang in terms of being clinical, or an Aguero. Like Aguero was always that guy. He was slow. I think he's neither of the two, but like he was small, weak, and slow, but he'd have insane technique and ball striking. So I think Nketiah, I think with his pace and power, with his improved dribbling, and with his improved finishing as well, and his pressing intensity, I think whatever team signs him, I think they should look to play him on the left.
Interesting. I haven't heard that before. I think for me, the one thing that my wingers need to do is create elite separation from a standstill. And that's the one thing that I question with Eddie. And I think he's very chaotic. Whoever has him as a center forward needs to know that he's a project. But I think he's done enough, especially in this year. Like the growth impressed me. A lot of the things for me with Eddie about improving his technical security were things I thought he could do from the academy, but he didn't translate last year. But this year he was a lot more physical in the challenge. So maybe he is kind of that left wing or a second striker kind of.
That's what I wanted to say. Not necessarily like an out and out left winger, like
more of a second striker.
Yeah, more of a second striker, or maybe like maybe the role that Jota has at Liverpool when he's playing off Firmino was like he's on paper the left winger, but he's always playing in that channel between the right back and the right center back, or in a 4-4-2. I think there's
that's my big hot take. I think 4-4-2s are going to be the new formation coming forward. They're going to be absolutely coming back, and that's what's going to combat the positional play. But maybe that's another pod. Look, I'll go to Chris, mate, first. Winners, losers, kind of overall feelings on the game. What do you think?
I think winners, Ainsley, Ben White, because the Ben White hive or prop significantly increased last night after the game. Deservedly so. He's been great off the ball, great defensively, great in duels since he came, apart from that one Brentford game. But the past 3 games, so the past week, because they've all been in the past 8 days, Leeds, Palace, and Villa, he started showing more of his on-the-ball qualities. And people are really seeing what he can do, and he's been doing since Newport County in League 2. I think there's still a lot more for him to show, as you said, the passing into the centre forward. I think he's playing the right half space. He hasn't shown us yet, because last season for Brighton he was great in the right half space, and he's been doing that for Leeds as well. And he's got great ball striking. But apart from them two, I think obviously Curran won yesterday, even though I didn't want him to, but he did. And losers, I think Martinelli, in a sense, at left wing, because
he was my loser.
He had a big chance and he didn't take it at all. He didn't play well. I think Pepe on the right wing, even though he had some statistics back him up, majority of people who actually watched the game saw how poorly he played. Like, he was falling over himself. He had a couple shots over the bar, and he doesn't press. Like, he rarely presses. So Pepe, Martinelli, and Leno may be another winner, just because he didn't get slandered for another performance. That's
I
really
love
it.
that that's the standard. Just if you don't get slandered, you've won.
Yeah, 'cause I couldn't say
Uh,
seeing at the game, like, normally,
No,
like,
no, I know what you mean. I'm being
I couldn't
facetious.
say
Don't worry.
anything bad.
So I agree. I think Martinelli was my loser as well, and the only reason because I know what Pepe is, and I'm done with that conversation. And I think Martinelli is a little bit harsh, maybe because we definitely tried to use the right more to attack for sure. I
Yeah.
don't think we really used, and he didn't have a lot of people there, granted. But when he did get on the ball, I want to be consistent. I don't think he was as incisive as maybe his previous cameo happened in the league. That 10-minute cameo with Palace was excellent. I thought he was a lot more decisive, a lot more willing to release the ball. And, he had his head up more. Now you kind of saw that return of the head down. I'm just going to plow truck wherever I'm going in like straight lines. But yeah, he was potentially my loser more so in this match. I think he didn't quite take his opportunity. Let's put it that way. Still love him, still believe in his potential crazy. But yeah, I have to be fair. Martinelli didn't have a great game. Curran, how about you, mate? Like, winners, losers, overall feelings in the match. You won your predictions, which is good.
Because I've won, I'm gonna let Z go first. Just as
Okay.
the fealty of my heart. So go first.
Wow.
You know,
Chivalry isn't dead, guys. Look
No,
at
ask that.
Curran's killing everyone.
Ask that question again.
Yeah, so just winners, losers, your kind of overall feelings on the match. Did you feel as though it was just a good win? That's now 8 games unbeaten, guys. So does that count? Or does that only count when it's a different manager?
Winners, I think winner is obviously Ainsley because I think he proved a lot of people wrong. Loser is Nicolas Pepe, and just my overall thoughts on the game. I think it was just like I said, it was a decentish performance. It was it was with a young crowd really. So the Carabao Cup usually has just a lot of young fans that that usually aren't available for the Premier League game. So it was actually a good atmosphere as well with fans. But I think just it's a game that that adds to the unbeaten run, which I was saying. I'm hoping we go on an unbeaten run until the Liverpool game. That's what I was saying this quite a while back, and people were saying, "No, we'll probably lose the Villa game," and I was like, "No, I'm hoping we'll go on an unbeaten run." I'm still hoping that happens because if that happens, and we manage to pull off something against Liverpool, my lord, I'm gonna go batshit crazy.
Well, what's crazy is I feel as though people on Twitter blame me for when we lose, but when we win, it's always like, how much farther is the run going to go, George? And I'm like, guys, let's just book a market in terms of internationals. That's what I do. I look at it basically until the next international break. Let's see how we go. I'm with you, Z. Keep racking up the wins. And if we can do that before Liverpool, that puts you in a great, great position. So, yeah, as you can see here, like these fixture lists are there. You have to beat what's in front of you. And I don't think they're as easy as what people are saying. The Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Brighton runs in general were teams that we definitely lost last season. And that's what really lost us top 4. And so I feel as though a lot of these wins are basically getting you up the table and they're putting you in a position to compete for where we want to go. But yeah, Curran, maybe we'll go last to you to wrap up these winners, losers, your thoughts on the game. Of course, you won, so you're not at that 5-point mark, so you get to join Chris.
Firstly,
He doesn't join me.
Oh, does he
What do you
not? Is it
what do you
one
mean?
left?
Pull it up. What is it? I'm curious now.
Oh, it's one less. Okay. Very close.
Jeez. Okay.
It was
First,
like this,
first,
innit?
it was like that, yeah. So first of all, I don't like airing people, and I'm not. My name isn't Blackcurrant, so thank you for that. But I appreciate it. But good evening, WTT, because I don't like airing people. So there's a W for you, my friend. But in terms of winners, of course, me, because the man got it right, innit? But the main winner for me is is Ainsley. It's got to be Ainsley, right? I mean, I think Ainsley did very well yesterday. I mean, his running forward, the way he was controlling tackles, the way he was pressing into duels, as I mentioned before. I think he had a very, very good game. He was my man of the match. I'm trying to think of others. I mean, I didn't mention this before, but I've just remembered now. So Ben White was ill, people. That was a performance of someone that was sick. Do we realize
why
that?
did he play though? Yeah, but why did he play though?
Because
I'm
I think that
still
was
kinda
literally
confused about that.
Mario was sick as well.
because
I think
Mario was sick as well.
supposed to come in.
Yeah, but like Chambers maybe.
Yeah, Chambers was for me.
Yeah.
Another winner
Kolasinac, center back.
For sure could have happened. So
Not great.
the other two winners for me are Callum Chambers and Nicholas Yova as well, because if you look at, like, if you heard what the reports were that as he was coming on, Chambers and Nicholas Yova went up to him and was like, with your first touch, you're going to score. And that was what all that hugging stuff was about, because literally as he came on, 23 seconds, I think it was. So he was very, very, I think he was good. I think he played well, being tossed into a situation where he didn't think he would play. And I think he did very well. I mean, it's not just my bias coming through, but I think he actually did quite well. So I think Callum deserves a mention as well. In terms of losers, Pepe has to be a mention there, because he was his ball retention was just I don't even want to know, man. I don't even want to know. That first half was disgusting. I don't care if you got an assist, bro. I want to talk to Pepe stands for a second, bro. If you get an assist off when you shoot and hit the post, and it somehow ricochets to Alba, that's not a brazy assist. That's from a crazy baller, bro. This guy has 15 goals in 3 seasons in the Premier League. 15 goals. Half his goals and assists last season came in 3 games. It's a great run. I'm not having it. I'm sorry. I'm not having it.
Mate, if I'm really being honest, I feel as though people that want to objectify Pepe as bad, half of it is because of his stand. Like, I think a lot of people are like, you know what, we don't mind actually the guy. Like, there really isn't no reason to get upset at him. But I think the veracity that he's defended.
Oh no, there's reasons to get upset at him. There's reasons to get upset at him.
There is, but I think half of it is his stands are so bad about, he's got an assist at the end of the day, and he was so influential, when I think most people think his general play is just really, really poor. But look, everybody, your eyes go to specific players. So I guess I hear it. Every fan's got an opinion. I just don't see it. And,
have your opinion. Look, have your opinion. You're more than welcome to your opinion. But at the end of the day, if you look at the game of football, and you look at the kind of wingers we have in this league, you're telling me that you'd rather have Pepe over players like Mahrez or Salah or
that's what I'm saying, though, mate. Like,
Rafinha.
I think like what you're really comparing, though, is I think the same people that love Pepe are what he could be, because I don't think he's performing, but also love Bruno. Like, they're people that really enjoy output and like that statistical portion. I don't think Pepe does it quite to that degree. I think that's a little disingenuous, but I think the theory is very similar, where you've basically got somebody with, as Mo was saying, like drip, great swagger, and he's got great kind of comp status, and with great,
Does he even have comps? Like, all of his comps.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
When you have ball striking,
the amount of comps I've seen use clips from Lille, I'm just like, come on, bro. It's been 3 years.
I don't want to turn it into a Pepe hatred, because we do this.
No, I know it's not. But the thing is, it's not hatred. I really want to stress this. It's not hatred. I would love. I say this in every post that I put about Pepe. I would love for him to prove me wrong. I would love to prove him me wrong.
Yeah,
but
it is kind of tough being a Pepe stan or even critique.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, but I will always want him to prove me wrong, and he doesn't. Every time he doesn't. We run our attacks through him, and the man literally falls over and cries. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm sorry.
At least with Pepe, I think recently it's not necessarily been to the detriment, apart from Palace, kind of. But
Norwich.
This game, it wasn't really. At least we won, even though. That's what I mean. At least we won.
I love,
I
again,
think
that's the
we'll,
standard, similar to the winners. At least you
yeah.
didn't get slandered too
I
bad.
actually think we win the League Cup. You know, even though I don't really want to go far in it. Ever since the start, I've always had a weird feeling that we're going to win it. Because someone has to win it apart from City soon. And I feel like
I mean,
Yeah,
they're,
they've
they're
got an
losing on
elite
pen.
record in this
They're,
competition, right? That's what
they're losing on pens apparently. So
They
Yeah.
are out. They're out.
They are out. That's
Man
excellent.
City are
Hey,
out.
finally, because what? That was going to be their 5th one this year,
Yeah.
which is just
Yeah,
and they
crazy.
put De Bruyne played in that game. Like they had a good
that
squad.
guy is not. Let me not even talk about De Bruyne.
So you know what, guys? I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it to maybe Nick next, because you know what? I was gonna have a Partey debate, but I think I'd love to have Nick on with another couple people. I think that deserves its own pod, and the only reason I'm gonna stray from is because I
Okay.
think we've had 2 games really of a pivot versus 2 games of a lone pivot, and I want to be fair. I have my opinions. You know,
Mahrez
Nick
and
knows
Sterling
me from a
started.
while about me needing a police dog for Partey, but I feel it's just too small of a sample to really get nitty gritty in there. Unless Nick, you had some like urging thoughts that you wanted to just get out there, because I've been a lone 6 hater for 18 months now with him. But did you want to go into it, or is it too small a sample?
Yeah, I think it is too small a sample. I think
I want to be fair. I've got
Yeah.
my opinions because I'm stubborn, but
Sure.
You don't say.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that like as you said, the sample is too small, and and I don't think. I don't know, man. I'm also not a big fan of Party as a lone 6, but I do think he has the qualities to do it. Do I think he can do it with like City style with Odegaard and Smith Rowe ahead of him? No, I don't really think so.
No, I mean,
But and I think it generally doesn't maximize what the squad can do, because that requires an inverted left back, and Tierney and Tavares are like not at all inverted left backs. That requires touchline wingers, which I guess you could say we have, but I'd rather have, like, if Martinelli is going to play on the left and Saka on the right, I'd rather have them not stranded on the touchline. Yeah, I think it could work. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the long-term plan. But if we were to do it, I'd rather not. I'd rather have someone like in between, someone like a box-to-box player, something like that, like a secondary 8 where he's not an attacker, basically, like ESR is or Odegaard is. Like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the player, but like, let's say someone like Bruno Guimaraes, who can play both as an 8 in a 4-3 and both in a double pivot. Like, that would be nice, because let's say you have the option to start a game with a 4-3, and if it's not working, you can revert back to the double pivot. That would be nice. But yeah, I think as you said, it's a bit too big of a topic to get into right now.
It is a little bit too big, and I want to be fair, because I want to be fair to the people that like him as a lone 6 and believe him to be a lone 6 to get more sample. I just don't think that we've had enough. Again, I've always maintained he's a conducting number 8 for me that needs to be higher up the pitch, because his defensive style in transition is kind of Conte-esque in terms of stealing the ball with his legs in transition. He's not a stopper, and so when you have a lone 6 that kind of demands that type. More of a Declan Rice, more of somebody that's going to control their space and just stick there as well as progress. And I think when you have these 6-8 profiles, Partey thrives higher up the pitch for me, where he can fire balls into zone 14. So I've always felt that, but again, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off on really getting into it. But Nick, we'll go right back to you, because I think the last segment that I really wanted to do was January. It's coming up. What do you want to see happen in January? We're clearly, we've got hammered on this channel because we believe top 4 is not only a possibility, but is likely. And now people are suddenly saying, oh my God, maybe it is a possibility. Do you agree? Like, do you think top 4 is in the sights? Or if not, what do you want in January to maybe make up ground and get us in Europe?
Okay, yeah. So I think just like you lot, I was one of the first on Twitter at the end of last season that I was saying next year is the year that we're pushing back to the top 4, because like we were so good second half last season in terms of finishing second in the table, in that, like, at the table that we love to bring up about the Boxing Day table. We came second there, so we made the Boxing Day Champions League, which was great. And so yeah, so I always thought that was the year that we would make it, and also we still had plenty of absences with Tierney and Party out and for stretches and Oba, and I don't think we played up to our full potential. So I thought, that's definitely the year, but I was not very excited about the summer window. Though I will say that I've been proven wrong completely right now so far. Like with White and Ramsdale, Ramsdale, I will say that I had no idea what kind of player he is. I was kind of going with the general consensus because I wanted Onana, and with White, I thought it was a little. I don't think the fifth. I don't think it was great value for money. Jury's still out on Odegaard though, and just like George, I'm not a fan at all. So, yeah, I guess.
Let me ask you something quickly. Sorry, Nick, but let me just ask something quickly. So, for me, when I hear the not value for money argument for White, I just look at Nathan Ake, who was 40 million, and I look at players like John Stones or 50 million, and you're just thinking, surely that is kind of the rate of a top quality centre back in this league right now. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I just wasn't impressed with White in general as a player, right? It was not about spending 50 million on a centre back. I just didn't think he was as good, right? In all honesty, I was not convinced he was better than Luis, even though we needed someone to replace Luis because he's like 35. I was not convinced like he's an upgrade, but I gotta say I've been proven wrong completely. And I think the fact that he played in a back three for White from Brighton, I don't think. I think we could
transition to a 4.
Yeah. I was not sure about that, and I don't think he looked as impressive in a back three. Right? Whenever I see back three center backs, I always have something that holds me back. So yeah, with White, I've been impressed. I don't think I've ever fallen in love with an Arsenal signing that quickly. So he's been great. I love him so far. We'll see if he keeps it up. And I want to see him against Liverpool. Definitely, I want to see him against Mane. That's going to be interesting. And in terms of January, you asked. Well, I think the one thing I would have to prioritize is the midfielder. We definitely do.
Algerian descent by any chance? Is he Algerian by descent? Or...
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have a name that you want to throw out to us?
Yeah.
I know we need a midfielder. I think everyone in their duck knows we need one, but I'm going to put you in the spot. Who's your guy? Who's your pony?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't have one right now.
You don't?
Honestly, okay. I don't have one. Obviously, Awar has been my number one target for 2 years right now. I've been repping him on Twitter for the past year. Everybody knows about that, but I'm not sure. Is 4-3-3 the move long term? I don't know. If it is, then yeah, get someone like Awar. But I think as of now, I prefer the pivots. I would like to get someone like. Someone who can be a long-term Xhaka replacement and also will be able to play next to Xhaka in the AFCON period. Because that's going to be an issue because we play Spurs and we play Tottenham. I'm pretty sure.
We play City.
City and Spurs we do.
Oh, I said Spurs and Tottenham, right? Yeah. I meant City and Spurs, yeah. So it's going to be an issue. Well, if we have to play, even El Neni will be gone. What do we play, Xhaka and Lokonga? I'm not convinced with that at all. So yeah, I think I'd like to get it's the jury's still up on whether if we want to use a 4-3-3, then yeah, for sure, get Awar. And regardless, I would love to get Awar for attacking midfield depth because I'm not convinced on Odegaard, as I've said.
You told me that there's no 10 in the world you take over Awar. This was months back, but you were in this window we have to get Awar.
Yeah.
Apart from Awar, and I was like, even De Bruyne, you were like, nah, not even De Bruyne.
I can't remember
that kind of love for Awar.
I can't remember that.
You know what I just wanted to say on it, because look, I'm totally with Nick. I'm going to back it up. But the one argument that I constantly have on Twitter with this is in January, you need to buy somebody that's versatile. And if we were going to do the 4-3-3, how we've used Odegaard has pissed me off so much when I look at Aouar's face, because you couldn't think of a more perfect profile. Now, the biggest argument that I make, though, is, Nick, for me, it's not even just a 4-3-3. How we use our 4-2-3-1, that left wing as a facilitator, he's perfect for it. And the beautiful part of it, you can switch in game with one sub. You sub on Martinelli and boom, you become a 4-3-3 team. You can do it in game. That's not something that we can do. In fact, that West Ham game of last year where we played two different formations in two different halves, we needed to do a cycle of changes. But if you had Aouar in that left area and you placed him in the center, which, by the way, for me, adds output, dynamism, and aggression that Odegaard doesn't have, you end up having a combination now of two playmakers with potential to score goals. But not only that, you've got a versatile option that can play in a pivot. People always misinterpret when I say this, but I don't think people remember, but Aouar and Ndombele faced the Centurions and bossed them in back-to-back Champions League campaigns. So when people are worried about his defensive contributions, in my opinion, Aouar doesn't limit you to a formation. Other people that we could get do. Do you agree or no?
Yeah, definitely. And also the other thing, like everyone seems to think like we don't need anyone else because we bought Odegaard. The thing is, even if you like Odegaard, if he gets injured, we're to stack on the left and Pep on the right, and I think anybody wants that, right? We don't really have any other. Like you have two guys that can play number 10 and one guy that can play the second 10 on the left. That's it, and they both start. So we basically have one guy for each position. If we get an injury, let's say we
Emil,
have
let's say Emil is injured.
It's not about like missing one game. Let's say he's out for 2 months. We're finished. We have no chance to make top 4 then. Like. It's not about just City. City have like abnormal squad depth. Look at even like I don't know. There's a lot. Even United, who are awful, they have so much depth in those positions. Liverpool have some, though their depth is very injury prone in most positions. But they do have some. Even Spurs, I think, have more depth than us in attacking positions.
I just see it as the most bang for your buck. When you come down to January, you're not going to get a starting 6 or a Bruno Guimaraes in January. Like, that's what I get really confused when people suggest it, because he's not leaving Lyon mid-season in the middle of a Champions League in a regular season. Now, Aouar, somebody that we know has been out of contract, who I think is approaching his last year, by the way. So in terms of January, he's got 18 months.
Is it 2?
I think it's 18 months along with Bissouma.
Is it only 18 months? Okay.
Really? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, maybe.
And so I'll just double check that. But the point that I'm trying to make is I think his valuation, regardless of whether he's not quite there, I'm going to double check that 18-month thing, but it's around 20 to 30 million. In my opinion, Bruno Guimaraes is 30 plus. You're in a different bracket, and you don't see that purchase in January very often. And so for me, you got 20 to 25 million. Probably that's the budget. And for me, who do you get that solves the most holes? And again, that answer for me always goes to the Algerian, as you know, Chris.
And I think a very easy departure in January that most people anticipate to happen is Lacazette. So I think it's very easy just get rid of Lacazette, who we don't need anyway. Even though he's a good player, we don't need him because we have 10,000 center forwards. And just bring in Aouar. That's it. It's not that we have to pay 80 million or something. Oh, and that comment over there, Kamara is good as well, and he will. And
that's my boy.
With 6 months on his contract, I think he would be an easy recruit in January as well.
I think that's the best piece of business we could do. I think for Kamara pre-contract. I really do. I really think that's some of the best, because I feel like a lot of our midfield pivot options, a lot of them are like the 8s. So you look at the Ainsleys, you look at the Parteys, you look at that mold. But we do not have a lot of people to sit with them. So we have Xhaka, we have
Elneny, Kamara, both in profile and money. It's beautiful.
Honestly, I think we replace Xhaka and Elneny with Partey and someone. Like, it's been linked today, but someone like Zakaria would be a very good sort of replacement in terms of depth. Because you know what it is with Zakaria is I don't trust his injury records. I can never have him start, but I do recognize that he's someone that you can put in as a DLP option, or even someone that you can play alongside a more advanced 8 for me. So I think if you're looking at it and you're looking at profiles and you're looking at terms of variety of profiles, you can have a sitter, you can have someone in Kamara that can play both left centre mid and left centre back, even if he is a bit height, he doesn't have the height for a left centre back, but he can play there. And if you're looking at in terms of the balance in that midfield, we need to look for, because I'm gonna do a thread on it as well. We have the midfield, the sitter in midfield is the hardest place to recruit in world football right now. I feel personally, because there's so many midfielders that are just very good at bombing up, but there's no like do you remember the options we were looking at last summer? We were looking at things like Locatelli or
I wasn't.
I know you weren't, and I wasn't either. But
Yeah,
like
your
other
Locatelli, your
people,
Neves is. I know what you mean. It's tough to
Neves
get a
is
sitter. I think the one pushback that I always make, Curran, is in January. I know that we don't have the greatest pivot options, but actually by then, and I know AFCON happens, but I think O'Malley makes a really good point. It is only spanning 2 league games. And for me, the ideas that, COVID restrictions are going to block travel are just simply not the case for me. And I think you're
vaccination.
going to have there for maybe 2 or 3 games that are missing. So for me, your pivots, we do have a decent amount of pivot options right now. Ainsley, Mo will be there. We've got Ainsley, Mo, Makunga, Partey, and Xhaka for this season in the very, very short term. In January, what profile can you add to the squad that maybe supplements that for me? Because I think the sitter, somebody that I want to spend good money on, I don't want to go cheap in that sense. And if I do go cheap, which you have to in January, for me, it has to be a versatile option, right? For me, if you're going to go cheap, use it on a versatile player. Don't use it on your starting edition player that you want to pair with Partey.
Let me be clear, right? When I say Kamara, I do not want him to come in January. I want him on a pre-contract. For a pre-contract, right? Because I think in January, I think that's wasted money for no reason. I think he's in George CK both know this. I've been George obviously is the one who introduced to me, but I have been banging on about Kamara for time. I'm the only one. I'm the only one who wants to move Basuma. George disagrees with me, but I love Boubacar Kamara. I think he's someone that would actually add a lot to our squad. I think it rounds out both our midfield and our defense, because you have someone who can drop deep and actually work in that. He can do the El Neni role very well. He can be that one that drops into defense and form the 3 very well. He can be the one that advances the play up. He's not someone that I would say is an elite sort of progressive midfielder, but he's someone that you need in your squad. I think he's someone that you can actually have as a defensive option in your midfield, which is something that we need. I mean, every Vieira needs their Gilberto, let's put it that way. And I feel like Kamara would be that Gilberto role very well.
It seems like we're all on the board. I want to get Chris and Z's opinion in there, and of course we'll get Nick for you to wrap it up a little bit too, because I think Chris, the big thing is we're all on midfielders, right? So we spat out some names. Look, I love Aouar. I'm never going to change. I'm going to say Aouar till I die. That's what I want in January.
Me too, man.
Period.
Yeah,
I can make cases for other players. Yeah, they're good, cool, but no one fixes the squad more than Aouar, in my opinion. But Chris, I'm going to pose it to you. Should we get a striker? And I really don't think they're available. But I think Yo-Yo has a point, though. Do you think aerial presence, which is something that we're missing, is that the play in Jan? Do you go and get a backup target man, so to speak, with Laka potentially leaving? Or do you go midfield, like what we've been saying in the past?
I think, I don't even know what date Odegaard signed, but the day he signed, I said, I'd only ever be happy with that signing if Aouar comes.
I got you, 18th August. I remember that date pretty well.
So since that day, I've been saying I'll only be happy with Odegaard if Aouar comes, because it means we have a very good backup 10 on the bench, and I think Aouar just provides something totally different on the left and in general to Odegaard. I think I want him more central just because I've seen what he can do in the right half space at Huddersfield and in the academy, because he's better in the right half space than in the left. But I want Aouar, and I don't want a striker. I've never really wanted us to buy a striker. I think aerial presence you can get up top, you can get from Martinelli more so than most strikers in the market. And those strikers most people want will be 70 mil. And we're not going to spend 70 mil on a striker in January when our striker right now is one of the top scorers in the league. Like, that just wouldn't make sense. So I think Aouar is the play, and even if there was a striker I wanted, it wouldn't be the play if Aubameyang is giving you goals and you can fill up another position.
For me, just before we get to Z, I think another massive piece of business we need to do is a Ballack on loan. For me, I think he needs to go on loan. I think he needs minutes. Bro, if you watch him for the under-23s, this guy is taking the piss. He is doing ridiculous things.
That's the problem, though.
It's just it's vexing because I can see him work in this team, but I don't think he's in that stage where he's too good for under-23s, but just like he's not Alba level. And I don't think he's Laka level.
He's been in that stage for a bit. That's why he needed a guarantee of first team. But Eddie and Laka not leaving kind of stopped that. And
that's the consequence of having a big squad, guys. Like, we've talked about that since the summer. That was the biggest issues of us not moving players on, and this was dressing room dynamics. There's really, for me, it's not a on the pitch issue. Balogun, for me, is a better, more complete player than Eddie, in my opinion. But he doesn't get minutes because of dressing room dynamics. You can't have somebody else starting, even if he's going to leave, even if he's on 8 months of his contract while you're playing here. You can't have a less established player starting, which sucks. I don't agree with it, but it just doesn't happen as a manager. But Z, mate, like, last little thing, what do you think we do in January? Like, are you with this idea of maybe getting a backup right back? O'Malley was saying, which we do need a right back. Everyone knows who my horse is, but that's a summer edition. And like, for you, is midfield the ploy, and is that the play in your opinion?
No, personally, I don't think we should just get too many in. I don't think we will get too many in. I think there's one.
It'll be like one.
No, there is a prime position that we're looking to obviously improve in, which is central midfield. And personally, I would bring in Kamara. I don't think we have his kind of profile in the team. Apart from, I think, Mohamed El Nenian, who I do not want to see in the team anymore. And I think Kamara would be, a huge upgrade to the team. He could be that destroyer in midfield. He can play that sixth role very well, and he's Curran's favorite player. So right now, no, honestly, I just want to see a defensive midfielder just come into the team. I think that's what's really, really important, and he can at least help us, play in a 3 in midfield, and he can play in a pivot as well. So Kamara would be my pick, 100%.
Okay, so you know what, Nick, I'm going to let you...
contract ends in 2023, not 2022.
Yes, yeah, I just looked that up. So, Aouar does have 2 years left in the summer. So the big thing would probably be then. But, Nick, I'll let you end, mate. Like, so January, we probably only do one. Do you think if we were to get an addition, and I'll let you end with that before you shout out your socials, do you think that secures us as a top 4 challenging team if we were to make an addition in January? Or do you feel that's still not enough?
I mean, yeah, I think I started talking about that earlier, but I think I kind of lost track and I started talking about other things. But yeah, I think after being underwhelmed in the summer, I was proven wrong in some of the signings, and I think the only thing that is stopping us right now from being top 4 challengers is health. Like, we need a fit squad. Like, there is a big drop off when it comes to defenders, when it comes to midfielders, attackers, creative players. Like, we have a very strong 11. I think we have like in an ideal world, I would like to keep like no more than 13 or 14 guys in the squad. It's not like there are a lot of players, but there are not many good ones. So I think, let's say we added Aouar, I think that would be a fantastic signing, and I think you could plug him in when whoever is injured, right? It's like, if, let's say, even if Saka is injured, like, you can do ESR on the right that have a triplet of like creators behind. There are so many things you can do. You can switch formations, and it's just the depth. Whether the number 10, the right winger, the center forward, the left winger gets injured, you have one more player who has star quality. I think that's going to help us a lot. So I think we also need Party to be fit, especially now that Xhaka is injured, because we're in a lot of trouble. If he picks up a hamstring against Leicester or something, we're in a lot of trouble.
It was kind of nice to see him rested. wasn't it? In this
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
there was a panning, and I thought, "Oh shit, he's gonna put him on." Please don't.
Yeah. I was so pissed that he started the Wimbledon game. I understood that it was for fitness reasons, but I did not like that decision at all. Anyway, so I think if our center backs stay fit, if Ramsdale stays fit, if the midfield stays fit, and we make that one more addition in January, I think we'll make top 4. Yeah, definitely. It also depends on like who United get as a coach, because I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that everyone wants Conte, right? I'm not convinced that he makes them like a title challenging team day one.
I want Conte.
Look, Nick,
Okay,
Nick,
yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, right? I put a post up on my Twitter, and I said to me, people send me your Conte teams for this United squad.
Yeah.
Every single one of them look complete dog shit. Every single one of them.
I
They
know.
were just, it's just like that people were putting like Pogba and Matic as a pivot. I'm just like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
Like, are we really what are we doing here? It's just madness.
Yeah.
But yeah. Buddy, so make sure you shout out your stuff as well, so because
yeah.
want to make sure you get your stuff out there.
Sure, yeah. So my ad is on the screen right now. You can find me on Twitter, and then there's also the website and Twitter page that I'm running with a couple of mates. It's @FootballIdealist. I'm pretty sure it's on the description, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Twitter page, and then
Football Idealist.
Yeah, and then footballidealist.com is the website. We post some good articles there, and then on the Twitter page we have a lot of compilations going up, and we also have a podcast, which I gained my experience. I think it was actually George. Wasn't that your first ever podcast appearance?
I think it was my first ever podcast.
That's great. Yeah. So we started something great. Yeah. So yeah, the podcast we haven't uploaded in months, but everything else we try to have some regular uploads. So yeah, go check that out.
And it is great work, guys. And you heard it here first. Nick has given more podcast debuts than Mikel. So, he believes in you. Okay?
I believe in you.
He believes in you. He's
I
already
didn't think you had that in your bag, George.
That's assuming if you think I'm good. But anyway, that's another debate, isn't it? So, look, guys, we're gonna wrap it up because we've gone in for an hour 30. Thank you so much for the comments, guys. There's been a lot of engagement. I think Nick brought the juice, the power, the popular vote, which is awesome.
I brought the hive. Yeah,
exactly, you did. And so, guys, just make sure if you're new here to like, comment, subscribe. You can find us on Twitter @BoP Of course, you can find us at Ball Over Passion, both on Spotify, Apple Music, here, and as well as on TikTok, which is fun. But you can see all the guys' socials. They're over here. You can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. Curran, mate, do you want to shout out your social?
Buddy, I am so impressed. You even got the TikTok, you got the Spotify, you got everything in there. You're just getting better at this. You can barely. Look, I'm gonna do a bit of behind the scenes reveal here. George has one of the old school, like put your finger in dial it phones at his house. That is literally that is the standard we're looking at here. So it's like I'm just so overwhelmingly impressed with this. But yeah, first of all, congrats to George for 5K on Twitter, because that's a very good achievement. I got the prediction right, so let's just remember that. And thank you Nick as well, because it's nice to see your face and have you on the podcast. It's been nice talking to you. So thanks to everyone here. Thanks to the viewers and everyone. Please subscribe. Please comment. I'm my at's on the screen, and he is great. Yes, Nick has always been the one.
Guys,
so
make sure that you follow him on Twitter too. He's really close.
Make sure you do.
Let's push him over the edge. The minimal juice that
I'm 50 followers away. So
that would be very good. So, speaking of 2K, thank you everyone for following me personally for 2K. I very much appreciate that. I couldn't have done it without all the men on the screen here, so thank you very much, all of you, and thank you everyone in the comments. It's very humbling to see that. It's been mad humbling. What the hell, bro?
Very cool. So Chris, do you want to shout out your socials as well?
Make sure follow everyone.
Me?
Shout out your socials
What's
as well.
Socials? I don't like saying.
The last thing I want to say is PNC on Twitter. I've been interacting with you guys a bit recently. I ain't good, but I have been interacting. Follow me, and the last two things for me is this And this.
Yeah, there we go.
We
There we
love
Nice.
go.
to see it. And then finally, Z mate, you want to shout out your socials before we sign
Yeah,
off?
it's private. I don't even know. Private Arsenal _ Z on Twitter. Just follow me and follow the guys. Pure CK. Congratulations, Curran, on 2K followers. Yeah, followers on Twitter, and congrats, George, on 5K. And Nick, keep up the good work, man. I'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely,
lot,
guys.
man.
Thank you so
I
much.
will
It's
be.
been an
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have Nick on. Please, leave some comments
Mm.
about things that we can improve. If you want to have Nick on again, please let us know. We definitely will, even if you say no, because he's great. But follow his podcast, follow our podcast, and you know what? We're gonna sign off very soon, and we're gonna have our Leicester preview, I believe, on Friday. We're probably
Friday,
gonna
yeah.
release that around 8 p.m. UK. We'll let you guys know.
And my vlog for the Leeds game will be out in 15
Yes,
minutes.
and make sure you look out for CK's vlog. But yeah,
15 minutes or something.
and after all of that, we're definitely going to sign you off. So thanks again, guys, and have a good one. We'll see you on Friday.